What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for MLB Tuesday, May 17th.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon.
so you don't miss our new videos.
In this video, I'm going to go over my top DFS picks for today's MLB slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have an 8-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the pitcher position. I like Chad Kuhl with a 5% pitching advantage over the San Francisco Giants. Chad Kuhl giving up a .738 OPS versus lefties, and he's only giving up a .591 OPS versus righties. Pitches his worst ball versus switch hitters, but he's facing 5 lefties and 4 righties here tonight. No switch hitters, so that's good news. And I like this pick because the Giants have only hit 9 of his last 45 pitches. That's a 200 batting average. He's 8,800 FanDuel salary, 200 more on DraftKings, averaging 32 fantasy points per game on the season. He has an ERA of 2.88. Record is 3-1, pitching an average of 84 pitches per game. So I like Chad Kuhl here versus the San Francisco Giants. Okay, let's take a look at the catcher first base position. Here's a value play. I like Jonah Heim with a 90% batting advantage over Reed Detmers. Jonah Heim is batting a 1.111 OPS versus lefty pitchers, so he's batting 51% better versus lefties as he does righties. And Reed Detmers throws his worst ball versus switch hitters, 39% worse than his other pitches, giving up a 1.067 OPS versus switch hitters. Now there's no at-bats versus Detmers yet, but Jonah Heim is only 2,300 FanDuel salary. He's 2,100 more on DraftKings, so I love that FanDuel price. Averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season, he has a batting average of 279. So I like Jonah Heim here versus Reed Detmers. Okay, let's take a look at the second base position. I like Jose Altuve batting against Nathan Eovaldi. Jose Altuve is batting a .869 OPS versus righties, and Nathan Eovaldi pitches his worst ball versus righty batters, giving up a .735 OPS versus righties. Now Jose Altuve is 7 for 28, batting a .250 batting average and a .930 OPS versus Eovaldi, and I like this pick because 3 out of those 7 hits were home runs. He's 3,500 FanDuel salary, 1,800 more on DraftKings, averaging 12 fantasy points per game on the season. He's been on fire, scoring 10, 25, and 19 fantasy points in the last 3 games. And he has a batting average of 259. So I like Jose Altuve here versus the Boston Red Sox, or here versus Nathan Eovaldi. Okay, I also like Ryan McMahon with a 35% batting advantage over Alex Cobb. Ryan McMahon has a 28% advantage here versus righty pitchers, batting a .842 OPS versus righties. And Alex Cobb is pitching his worst ball versus lefty batters, giving up a .691 OPS versus lefties. Now Ryan McMahon is 0 for 2 versus Cobb, but he's 3,400 FanDuel salary, 1,500 more on DraftKings, averaging 9 fantasy points per game on the season with a batting average of .254, but he's also on a hot streak here. Scored 25, 13, and 28 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like Ryan McMahon here versus Alex Cobb. Okay, let's take a look at the third base position. I like Josh Donaldson with a 57% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Spencer Watkins. Josh Donaldson is batting 18% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .817 OPS versus righties. And Spencer Watkins pitches his worst ball versus righty batters, 39% worse than his pitch to lefties, giving up a 1.082 OPS versus righties. There's no at-bats versus Watkins yet, and Josh Donaldson is only $3,100 FanDuel salary and only $800 more on DraftKings, so I like that price on both sites. And he's averaging 9 fantasy points per game on the season, has a batting average of .246, so I like Josh Donaldson here versus Spencer Watkins.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
I also like Isaiah Keener-Falefa with a 53% batting advantage over that same pitcher, Spencer Watkins. Isaiah Keener-Falefa batting 14% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .679 OPS versus righties. And we know Spencer Watkins giving up a 1.082 OPS versus righties. Isaiah Keener-Falefa only $2,500 FanDuel salary, $1,400 more on DraftKings, averaging 8 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .279. So I like Isaiah Keener-Falefa here versus Spencer Watkins. Okay, let's take a look at the shortstop position. I like Xander Bogaerts with a 31% batting advantage over Jose Urquidy. Xander Bogaerts batting 6% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .882 OPS versus righties. Jose Urquidy pitching his worst ball versus righty batters, 25% worse than his pitch to lefties, giving up a .791 OPS versus righties. Now, Xander Bogaerts is only 1 for 5 versus Urquidy, but I like Xander Bogaerts. The splits are good here, and he's $3,500 FanDuel salary, $1,300 more on DraftKings, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. And I like this pick because he has a batting average of .344. Scored some fantasy points in all of his last 5 games, so very rarely will he give you a 0. So I like Xander Bogaerts here versus Jose Urquidy. I also like Jorge Polanco with a 69% batting advantage over James Caprillion. Jorge Polanco batting 20% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .837 OPS versus righties. James Caprillion pitching his worst ball by far to switch hitters, 49% worse than his other pitches, giving up a 1.156 OPS versus switch hitters. And Jorge Polanco is 2 for 3 with a 2.667 OPS versus Caprillion. He's got a double and a home run out of those 2 hits. And he's only $3,300 FanDuel salary, $1,200 more on DraftKings, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .240. So I like Jorge Polanco here versus James Caprillion.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, moving on to the outfield position. A couple of home run hitters that I like. Aaron Judge batting against Spencer Watkins. Aaron Judge has a .938 OPS versus righties. We know Spencer Watkins pitches his worst ball versus righty batters, giving up a 1.082 OPS versus righties. So Aaron Judge is $4,500 FanDuel salary, $1,600 more on DraftKings, with a batting average of .296, but he's in a great spot here versus Watkins. And then Giancarlo Stanton also has a 54% batting advantage over that same pitcher, Spencer Watkins. And Stanton bats 15% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .891 OPS versus righties. Spencer Watkins, we know, pitching his worst ball versus righty batters. Giancarlo Stanton is $4,000 FanDuel salary, $1,200 more on DraftKings, averaging 12 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .289. So I think this could be an interesting New York Yankees stack if you can fit in Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. Could be some monster fantasy points here if they can get going. So I like Giancarlo Stanton here versus Spencer Watkins. Now I also like JD Martinez with a 39% batting advantage over Jose Urquidy. JD Martinez batting 13% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .900 OPS versus righties, and Jose Urquidy pitching his worst ball versus righty batters, giving up a .791 OPS versus righties. Martinez is 1 for 3 versus Urquidy. He's $3,500 FanDuel salary, $900 more on DraftKings, averaging 11 fantasy points per game on the season, and he has a batting average of .314. So I like JD Martinez here versus Jose Urquidy. Now, another powerhouse hitter here is Yordan Alvarez. He's got an 18% batting advantage over Nathan Eovaldi, batting 22% better versus righty pitchers. He's batting a .999 OPS versus righties. Nathan Eovaldi giving up a .708 OPS versus lefties. But I like this pick because Yordan Alvarez is 5 for 6 with a 2.208 OPS versus Eovaldi. He's $4,200 FanDuel salary, $1,000 more on DraftKings, averaging 13 fantasy points per game on the season, has a batting average of .257. So I like Yordan Alvarez here versus Nathan Eovaldi. Now here's a value play. I like Michael Brantley with a 30% batting advantage over Nathan Eovaldi. Michael Brantley is batting 33% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .875 OPS versus righties. Nathan Eovaldi giving up a .708 OPS versus lefties. Now, one thing that does turn me off about this pick is Michael Brantley is only 2 for 15 versus Eovaldi. And actually, now that I look at it, that's only a 133 batting average. And that's a pretty big sample size. So I would be a little cautious with this pick. I looked at it before, but that number escaped me there. 2 for 15 is pretty bad, and that is a big sample size. So Michael Brantley, though, he is only $2,800 FanDuel salary, $1,100 more on DraftKings, The splits are good here, averaging 9 fantasy points per game on the season, has a batting average of .274, so maybe he gets on track here versus Eovaldi, but I would be a little cautious with this pick because that batter versus pitcher stat is just awful. So another guy that I like, a little bit more than Brantley here, is Cedric Mullins. And he has a 4% batting advantage over Jameson Taillon. Cedric Mullins batting 13% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .872 OPS versus righties. Jameson Taillon giving up a .630 OPS versus switch hitters. And I like this pick because Mullins is 3 for 9 versus Taillon with a 1.4 OPS, and 2 of those 3 hits are for home runs. He's $3,600 FanDuel salary, $2,000 more on DraftKings, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .253. So I like Cedric Mullins here versus Jameson Taillon.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this MLB slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.